All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Jefferson model. There is a spreadsheet that you need to pick up from Canvas, and so I'm going to show you where that is right now. If you go into Canvas, the top module is Unit 2 and 3, Voting Methods and Apportionment. The very, very bottom one, once we unpack that, the very, very bottom is Jefferson, Adams, and Webster. And at the very, very top, it says Spreadsheet for Jefferson Lesson. That's the one that you're going to select. And when you do that, it's going to ask you to make a copy. And go ahead and do that, and it'll go into your OneDrive. Now, with the Jefferson method, it's very similar to the Hamilton in that we find a quota, and then we use the lowers, and we add them up. The difference here is that the Jefferson method, your lowers actually add up to equal the allocation. Well, how do we do that if we know that the standard divisor and standard quotas don't get us that? The way we do that is by using what's called a modified divisor. And that modified divisor is actually going to be something that is slightly less than the standard divisor. Now, I'm just putting a placeholder in right now of $4.99. So if you take a look at your spreadsheet, you'll go over to where it says modified divisor. That's field H2, and you'll write $4.99. And we'll be messing around with that in just a little bit. Okay, so the scenario here is that we have a bus company. Okay, in fact, let me go ahead and get the things here. We have a busing company, and this busing company has 65,000 passengers. And they're allocated 130 buses in these routes. So we have to figure out how many buses go into each route. If we did this by hand, I would have to guess and check this modified divisor, and I would have to determine what my modified quota is 6 times through calculations, get all my lowers for those, and then once I get all my lowers, I would add them up into a sum, and then I would look to see if the sum of all of those add up to my apportionment, or allocation, which is right up here. If it doesn't, I go back and pick a new number, and I do it again and again. So you can tell that this is a really tedious process if you keep it going for too long. So we're going to actually use a spreadsheet application with formulas, because then all we have to do is just change that modified divisor and see what it does to our lowers when we sum them. All right, first thing I'm going to do is go ahead, and this is going to happen fast, so you can pause or rewind as needed. Now, in your Chromebooks, it may ask you if you want to fill it down once you have it. Go ahead and do that. Mine will not allow me to do that on the iPad, so I'm just going to have to put the formula for each one. So in order to put a formula in a field, I have to put what's an equal sign, and that tells that field that, hey, I got to put some kind of operation in here. I'm using for my standard quota my group population divided by my standard divisor, which in this case is 500. Okay, that's also field F2. So if you get to a point where you can't see it anymore or it's difficult to reach, you can go ahead and type in F2. So that's my formula, equals B2/F2. Once I hit return, you can see that I have the actual calculation. So I'm going to do the same thing again. And I have to continue doing the same thing. And I'm going to type F2 in here. And one last one. Okay, so I have all of those put together. And then the next thing I'm going to do is find out what my lowers are. And I called these the Hamilton lowers. That doesn't say that on your spreadsheet. You may want to put it on there. Excuse me. just so that you can remind yourself what these actually are. And to get the lowers, I want just that number to the left of the decimal. So I'm going to use an operation called round down. And all I do is start typing the term round, and it gives me a couple options here. And you'll see yours as a drop down. You're going to select the round down, and it will make the whole thing all caps. And all you have to do is touch the standard quota that's 2 spots to the left, and then hit enter. Do not touch anything else, or else it'll pull other things into that formula. Okay, so this one, again, I'm going to hit round down, and then click on the field, hit enter. And if you just type it and you don't put in the formula, you are going to be hurting when it comes to actually solving some problems here. Oops, see, when I don't put equals, it gives us a hard time there. Okay, so now I have my standards done. If I wanted to, I could use this as part of a Hamilton thing, right? What I do want to do is I want to add all these things up, right? Because I have all of my lowers. I want to see if those lowers add up to what it should be. And I can hit sum. That's S-U-M. And I'm just going to click the generic sum. I'm not going to do too much here. And then this, I highlight the values that I want, and I hit return, and it tells me I have 128. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my modified quota. Now remember, we put in a placeholder here of 499, and that's field H2. So when I do my modified quotas, that equation is going to look a little bit different. So I'll have equals this divided by, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the number H2 in there for the field. And then equals, again, I'm going to choose this, and then put divided by, and enter H2. And then I'm going to continue that process on with the remainder of my stuff. This divided by H2. This divided by H2. And one more. The last one here, divided by H2. Okay, so now I have my modified quotas, and notice those are a slightly different value. They are higher values because I divided by a smaller number. So now I'm looking at the lowers here that are related, and it's going to be the same process I did with my standard quotas to get those lowers. So I'm going to hit equals, and then round down, select that, and then again go 2 spots over to the left, select it, hit return, and then this one again, round down, select that field, enter, equals, round down, this one again, round down, this one, round down, this one, and the last one, round down, this one. Okay, so now we have those formulas in. The only other thing I have to do is put a sum field here. So just like I did before, I'm going to do SUM and pick the generic sum. Click on that bottom one and then go up to the top of that column where all my data is and hit enter. and that'll give me that value. Now, right now they match because the numbers are very, very similar. I just did that modified divisor to 499. Here's where the magic happens. I want, do you see where I highlighted that 130? I want this bottom number, this 128, to equal 130. And the way that I'm going to do that is by changing my modified divisor. So remember, it's supposed to be less than my standard divisor. So I'm going to go 495 and see if that makes a difference. Hit return. And nope, no change. Okay, I'm going to go in and hit 490. Oops, 490. Hit return. Up, we see that jumped up to 129. And so let's try 485. 485. Okay, now it jumped up to 131. So I remember I want this number to equal my allocation. So that's too low. So I can change that to 486. Okay, that does it, but we want the high side of it. So 487, let's see if that is still 130. Okay, let's check the high side. 488, hit return. Okay, we're back to 129. So it's going to be 487. That is going to be our magical number for our modified divisor in order for my modified apportionment to equal 130. Now, there are situations where they will give you the modified divisor, and from there, you would go ahead and figure out what these values are. And that's pretty easy. You just do your modified quota just like you've done before, and then you do your lowers and add everything up just to confirm that it equals your allocation. All right, so now that we've done that, you're going to be working through the example problems, and I have it divided by your sports group. So you'll have a hockey problem and a golf problem and a tennis problem. They're not involving those sports. Those are just the groups that we divided into. So use this spreadsheet to solve for those. And because you already have the equations in, what you're going to do is hit File, make a copy, and then the only things you're really going to change are the values of your population. And if there's only 4 groups and you have 6 here, just put zeros where your other 2 extra populations are. You'll fill in your total population and you'll fill in your allocation. Once you have that, just make sure that you put this modified divisor slightly less than your standard divisor so that at least you get some numbers that are quasi-normal, and then you're going to start messing around with that to make sure that these 2 fields are going to be equal to one another. Okay, good luck. Can't wait to see how you guys do.